Hello friends, welcome to StudyIQ. Today we are going to talk about a news from Tamil Nadu. Recently, the Tamil Nadu State Legislative Assembly has decided that Periyar's birth anniversary, Periyar, that is E.V. Ramasamy Naikar's birth anniversary, would be now commemorated as Social Justice Day every year on September 17th. Now, this was decided in the Legislative Assembly and was announced by Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. So in this video, we are going to talk about this particular decision, the importance of this, and the core part of our discussion would be on Periyar. We'll know a lot of interesting things about Periyar. So from exam perspective, if you're preparing for UPSC or TNPSC, this is a very important discussion. To get all this information, be with me on StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar. And if you're preparing for Tamil Nadu Civil Service Examination, here TNPSC program is also there on StudyIQ. Just visit studyiq.com or download the app to know more about us. Right, let's talk about the news. As I told you, the Tamil Nadu government has recently announced that it is going to celebrate the birth anniversary of reformist leader E.V. Ramasamy Naikar as Social Justice Day in Tamil Nadu. Now, when will this be celebrated? From 2021, September 17th, which is the birthday of Periyar, it will be commemorated as Social Justice Day. Now, while announcing this, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, he said that Periyar's ideology, which mainly focused on rationalism, justice, self-respect, and equality, it laid the foundation of Tamil Nadu as a state, and it is going to be the template in future also. It is going to pave the way for future also. So, from now on, please remember this date from exam perspective. September 17th would be Social Justice Day in Tamil Nadu. Why this is being celebrated? Because of E.V. Ramasamy Naikar. So let's talk about Periyar here. We're going to talk about Periyar at length. First of all, who is Periyar? If you're from Tamil Nadu, I'm quite sure that you'll be knowing about Periyar. Periyar was Erode Venkatappa Ramasamy. He was born on 17 September 1879 to Venkatappa Naikar and Chinnathai Muthamal. Now, he is commonly known as Periyar. Now, if I tell you that the title Periyar was given to E.V. Ramasamy by C. Rajagopalachari. Let me know if this is a right statement or a wrong statement. Just research a little and try to tell me who gave the title of Periyar to Erode Venkatappa Ramasamy. Now, we all know that he was a social activist. In fact, he is well known for his self-respect movement. He has also served as a president of Justice Party, which has been a pioneer in terms of reservation in India itself. Later on, this Justice Party turned into the Dravida Kadagam. And we all know the history of Dravida Kadagam. Later on, the DMK came, then the EIDMK came. So, to some extent, we can clearly say that the entire Dravidian politics, it has its roots in E.V. Ramasamy, isn't it? Now, that is why he is known as father of Dravidian movement. In fact, he was a core member from Madras province who rebelled against the Brahmanical dominance and also caste inequality in the province of Madras. Now, we need to understand that when we talk about Madras, it means today's Tamil Nadu and a major part of Kerala as well. Now, just for your information, a commemorative stamp has also been released on E.V. Ramasamy way back in 1978 itself. That's the stamp. Right, let's talk about Periyar in general and let's try to understand his life, the phases of his life, how he has served his political journey in general. We'll also talk about controversies, because whenever you talk about the people who have been social reformists, controversies are also connected to them, isn't it? We'll talk about the controversies at the end. Now, first up, let's try to understand Periyar and Periyar's psyche. See, Periyar, as I told you, he was a social reformist. He was a known anti-Brahmanical personality who criticized the Brahmanic hegemony. He believed in rationalism. In fact, he said that self-respect for him or self-respect movement for him is anything which is rational. He was against the superstitious beliefs, against the rituals. He gave a lot of prominence to self-respect, social reform, and towards Tamil nationalism also. The question arises, was Periyar like this right from the beginning? The answer would be no. There was a life-changing incident in Periyar's life. What happened? See, Periyar went on a pilgrimage to Kashi, right now Varanasi, Kashi Vishwanath. He went in 1904. He went with a very pure heart to basically pay obedience to God. But what he saw in Kashi was a very, I would say, watershed moment in his life itself. when he visited Kashi, he saw there was huge discrimination, especially against the Avarnas. Now, Savarnas means upper caste, Avarnas means lower caste. Now, when he went to Kashi, he was discriminated. In one of the incidences, it is said that Periyar was very hungry. So, he went to have food in Kashi, where the food was being served in the temple itself. He had a mustache at that time. So, they did not give him food because he was from Avarna. So, what he did was he was very hungry. So, he wore a thread, the sacred thread that the Brahmins wear, and he went again to have food. Even then, he was thrown out. So, he was so hungry, he had to survive on the leftovers. Now, from that time, it triggered something in Periyar, and he was a known theist before. That means he believed in God, but after this incident, he became an atheist, and his entire viewpoint changed. He decided that he's going to fight against the caste discrimination in India. He believed that in Kashi things would be better, but for him, he understood that be it North India or be it South India, everything is same. Caste discrimination is very prevalent everywhere. Now, this was a trigger moment, and it changed his psyche. He went towards eradication of this caste discrimination, reforming the Indian society. These were the thoughts that were present in his mind from now on. Now, let's talk about his political journey. Let's talk about it in phases. See, he was a member of Indian National Congress. It might be a surprise for many of you to hear this. Yes, he was a member of INC. He was a member from 1919 to 1925. And we all know that Indian National Congress itself was criticized for being a party of Brahmins, right? Many people, many historians do say that there was a majority of upper caste in Indian National Congress. So it was quite understandable that Periyar wouldn't survive here for long. Yes, he contributed in the non-cooperation movement, which was spearheaded by Gandhi. In fact, he also became the Madras Province Congress Committee president in 1922. After he became president, he continuously battled for reservation in government jobs and education for the backward classes. Now, this agenda was not passed by the MPCC. In fact, a lot of opposition came from within Congress, which eventually led to him leaving Congress in 1925 itself. So, the Congress phase was over. He started his journey on his own. One of the most prominent contribution of Periyar has been in Vaikom Satyagraha. Although whenever we talk about Vaikom Satyagraha, we talk about T.K. Madhavan, we talk about K. Kellappan, but there is a lot of contribution from Periyar also. In fact, in this movement, in this Satyagraha, he was given a title of Vaikom Veeran. And Vaikom, as of today, it comes in Kottayam district in Kerala. It's not present in Tamil Nadu. Please remember that. Now, why this Vaikom Satyagraha is very important? At this Vaikom Satyagraha, we can see the distinction or the difference between Periyar and Gandhi in terms of their thinking. Although we'll talk about this at the end of discussion, but try to understand that during the Vaikom Satyagraha, the distinction or the difference between Gandhi's ideology and Periyar's ideology, they came out. It became very stark that they have different paths to tread. The very next year, Periyar started his own self-respect movement. As I told you, self-respect for him meant anything which was rational. He wanted to reform the Hindu society. He wanted to end the caste discrimination. He wanted to promote equality. According to him, self-respect movement was anything which was rational, which was based on reason. That is why he continuously criticized the superstitious beliefs, the lengthy rituals that were there in the Brahmanic culture, right? So, self-respect for him meant promoting equality, promoting human freedom. Now, to spread his ideas, Periyar started a weekly called as Kudi Arasu in 1925. Now, this was in Tamil. Later on, he also started an English journal called as Revolt. Please remember this from exam point of view. He continuously spread the agenda of self-respect movement. In fact, there were many followers who followed E.V. Ramasamy. That is Periyar. Now, in 1929, he did a very important thing. In 1929, E.V. Ramasamy, popularly known as Periyar, he removed Naikar from his name. Now, Naikar was the identification of the caste. So, he removed the Naikar name. That is why at the initial slide, it was only E.V. Ramasamy. The complete name was E.V. Ramasamy Naikar. His father's name was Venkatappa Naikar. In 1929, he abandoned this Naikar, which showed the caste distinction among people. Because of this self-respect movement, we all associate Periyar a lot. Now, apart from that, Periyar has contributed immensely towards the anti-Hindi protest in 1937. Now, in 1937, C. Rajagopalachari, he became the chief minister or the head of the province. What Rajagopal did was he imposed Hindi as a compulsory subject of study in schools. Now, against this stood Periyar. Now, the legacy of this can be seen even today. We talk about Tamil nationalism, we talk about Tamil linguism. Why? Because of the contribution of Periyar. He said that if Hindi is imposed on Tamilians, then Tamil will basically go into oblivion. There would be Hindi imposition overall. So Periyar strongly objected this, and we can see the impact of this even today. Not just Periyar, A.T. Panneerselvam also opposed this. And we see the legacy of that even after independence. What happened in 1965, what happens even now is the Tamil culture, the Tamil politics, they continuously resist Hindi imposition. And the roots of that are with Periyar. So a lot of credit has to go to Periyar for non-imposition of Hindi in Tamil Nadu. Apart from that, he was the president of Justice Party, although the Justice Party was set up in 1916 itself. When he was the president, he continuously fought against Brahmanical hegemony. Also, he wanted to give justice to non-Brahmin groups, and that is why Justice Party, it continuously promoted reservation in Madras. In fact, Madras has been a pioneer state when it comes to reservation. This Justice Party eventually transformed into Dravida Kadagam in 1944, and the rest is history, I would say. What happened? After the Dravida Kadagam, in 1949, this Dravida Kadagam, it divided into one DK, that is original Dravida Kadagam, and the other one was DMK, Dravida Munetara Kadagam. Now, Munetara means forward moving, Dravida forward moving party. Now, this was set up by C.N. Annadurai. C.N. Annadurai was a follower of Periyar himself, but the differences arose. Why? Over the demand for Dravida Nadu or Tamil Nadu, separate Tamil Nadu. E.V. Ramasamy was a very passionate supporter of this Dravida Nadu. Now, he said that we need to have this continuous movement, a self-respect movement of people from Tamil Nadu itself, where we are going to create our own Dravida Nadu. But there were some sections among Dravida Kadagam itself who wanted to enter politics, who wanted a cake of governance. Now, among them was C.N. Annadurai. They divided, the differences arose, and they became a political party. And from that, we know the history. First, it was DMK. Later on, DMK was split into DMK and AIA DMK. But please remember, the roots of all these DMK, AI DMK, all the Dravidian parties, they go to Dravida Kadagam itself and to a large extent to Periyar. Periyar continuously fought even after this in 1950s and in 1960s for the betterment of non-Brahmins, for the betterment of backward classes. He continuously fought against caste discrimination, and he breathed his last in 1973, 24 December 1973. So a great personality who has continuously fought for the rights of poor, for the rights of backward classes, who has promoted a sense of equality. Even today, when we talk about Dravidian politics, it owes a lot to the ideas of Periyar. So a great personality, and on his birth anniversary, now it will be the Social Justice Day in Tamil Nadu. But let us end the discussion with some controversies. As I told you, Periyar has been a very controversial figure also. Now, for that matter, you need to understand not just Periyar. If you talk about any of the backward class leaders, they have been rather controversial. If you talk about Ambedkar, there's a picture here of Ambedkar also. Ambedkar is also criticized sometimes as anti-national, etc., etc. But try to understand from a macro perspective that Ambedkar was fighting for the rights of a minority section. So it was quite understandable that controversies would happen. The same thing has happened with Periyar also. Let's talk about three important controversies from Periyar's lives. First is Periyar versus Gandhi in terms of ideology. As I told you, during the Vaikom Satyagraha, this difference, it came out. In fact, one point of time, Gandhiji, he had withdrew this Vaikom Satyagraha, but Periyar, he continued it. Now, in terms of ideology, they were different. See, I would say Periyar was more closer towards Babasaheb Ambedkar. Now, in terms of ending the caste discrimination, what B.R. Ambedkar said, he wanted annihilation of caste. Very similar ideas were also present with Periyar, who wanted to reform Hinduism. He wanted to end the caste discrimination altogether. He was against caste, he was against religion, he was an atheist basically. So, the distinction was going to come. If we talk about Gandhi, what was Gandhi's philosophy of eradicating untouchability, of eradicating this caste discrimination? He wanted Hindus to reform themselves. That means upper caste Hindus should basically go for penance and they should reform Hinduism. That was the belief system. And if you talk about Gandhi, he believed in the superiority of Vedas. He believed in Vedas, he believed in the Varna system. This is known to everybody. And we know that Gandhian politics was more or less connected heavily to religion. Correct? But Periyar's ideology is very different. On one side, when we say Gandhi believed in Vedas, I would say that Periyar believed in Thirukural. So on one side there is Gandhi who followed Vedas, on other side there is Periyar who followed Thirukural. So the distinction was there. Now, after the controversy about Gandhi, there's one more controversy which is very prominent. If you look at this picture clearly explains you the entire controversy. Why? Because if you see the people here, there's Periyar here, there's Ambedkar, there's Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And we know about Jinnah's demand for Pakistan based on religion. Similarly, Periyar has been criticized or has been controversial for his demand of Dravida Nadu. In fact, not just these people, but if you look at even Dravida Kadagam, what happened in Dravida Kadagam? Initially, they all went behind Periyar, but at one point of time, many people, some different factions from Dravida Kadagam, they separated from him. Why? Because of his demand of Dravida Nadu. People wanted that political chunk, people wanted the political governance, so C.N. Annadurai and many others, they followed and created Dravida Munethara Kadagam, a forward party where they wanted to provide governance and separated themselves from the demand of Dravida Nadu. They went towards the Indian Union, and that is why he has remained controversial to a large extent for his continued demand for Dravida Nadu. Now, apart from that, there was one more controversy which was connected to E.V. Ramasamy Naikar. This is a picture from November 26, 1957, Caste Extermination Day, where Periyar apparently burnt a paper with image of Lord Rama. So it led to a lot of controversy. In fact, he was arrested and he was jailed also for this particular incident. So overall, you can see all the controversies here are related to caste discrimination, again challenging the Brahmanic hegemony and a separate demand for Dravida Nadu. These are some of the controversies that are associated with him, and even now they remain. And there is a lot of discussion in especially academic circles regarding these things. That is it right now from my side. I hope this was interesting for you. Till we meet next time. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.